Midnight Terror, 7 Dark Rules That Haunt My Night Shift at a Montana Gas Station. The clock struck midnight, shattering the stillness of the gas station. A flickering fluorescent light buzzed overhead, throwing shadows that danced wildly across cracked tiles and faded advertisements. Out here, in the desolate Montana night, time felt warped, like the quiet was pressing in with an icy grip. It was during these hours that strange things happened, things that twisted your gut and froze your breath. Just last week, a customer swore he heard whispers coming from the restroom, whispers that weren't human. That night, I pulled the long shift, wide-eyed and tense, ready to confront whatever darkness lurked outside. There was a rule, one of the first I learned on the job: never let the clock strike 1 without checking the back room. They said it was where the gas station's former owner had met a gruesome end. A freak accident, they claimed, but everyone around town knew the whispers, an eerie tale about malevolent spirits searching for lost souls. I wasn't sure if I believed it, but the chill running down my spine begged to differ. A gust of wind rattled the station's single door as I pulled it shut tight. The empty parking lot stretched out before me, illuminated by the harsh lights. The peculiar part? Every time I looked back at the door, it felt slightly ajar, as if something unseen was beckoning me to step outside. I clenched my hands, a lump forming in my throat. Was it just the late hour playing tricks on my mind, or was I crossing some unseen boundary? The night felt alive, pulsing with an energy I couldn't quite place, sending prickles down my spine, but the weirdness didn't stop there. There were sightings of shadowy figures slipping through the gas station like smoke. Customers claimed they'd seen them, lingering by the pumps or vanishing around the corner of the building. What kept me up at night was the memory of a little boy in a striped shirt, lost, and always asking for help as I stacked snacks. His wide eyes and hollow gaze made my skin crawl. Was he waiting for someone? Could he be the reason I felt needles in my chest whenever the wind howled? Just as I was about to turn toward the storeroom, my phone buzzed with a message. But instead of a light, the whole screen flickered into darkness, then came back with a chilling text: "They're behind you." My heart raced, pounding against my ribs like a caged animal. I spun around, my breath catching as I faced the quiet night, nothing but the howl of the wind in response. The panic gripped me hard. Everything felt too still, too wrong. And then, a sudden crash echoed from the upstairs office. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension hung in the air, thick as syrup, as I took a cautious step toward the noise. My heart thudded ominously in my chest. What if I wasn't alone? The memory of the shadowy figures and the boy filled my mind. I strained my ears, desperate to catch another sound. Maybe it was an animal, or just my imagination. I reached for the door handle, but it felt sticky, as though something was holding it shut. Deathly quiet engulfed me again, the air crackling as I tried to breathe. That's when I saw it, a shadow darting across the wall, just behind the counter, flickering against the pale light. My blood ran cold. I hesitated, wondering if I'd regret this moment for the rest of my life. Should I open that door, or turn and run? The line between courage and fear blurred, leaving me teetering on the edge of a nightmare. What awaited me behind that door, in the stillness of the gas station, could change everything. A sudden crack shattered the silence, a splintering sound that echoed through the gas station. I flinched, muscles tensing as fear surged through me. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to flee from whatever horror lingered upstairs. But another crash followed, this time louder, as if something or someone was trying to break down a door. I couldn't let fear win. Curiosity gnawed at my mind, drawing me toward the source of that unsettling noise. I gripped the door handle with clammy hands, forcing myself to turn it. With a swift push, I stepped through the door and into the darkened corridor. The stark fluorescent light above flickered, casting brief shadows that danced like lost souls seeking freedom. As I moved down the hall, a chill seeped into my bones, a pervasive sense that something was waiting just out of sight. I picked up a plastic flashlight from a shelf nearby, flicking it on as its beam cut through the darkness. It glinted off the walls, illuminating the faded gas station murals that used to advertise the best roadside snacks. But now, they felt eerie, like relics of a past that was better left forgotten. The air was thick, almost electric, sweeping through me like the whisper of a forgotten memory. A low, muffled sound reached my ears, soft sobbing, mixed with the relentless rhythm of my heart. I hesitated once again. Could it be the boy? Hello? I called out, my voice shaking, barely above a whisper. The sobbing stopped instantly, replaced by an oppressive silence that pressed against me like a dense fog. I hesitated, my body only half inside the corridor. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Gathering my resolve, I stepped further inside. The flashlight beam danced across the walls, revealing scatters of dust and the occasional spider web signs of neglect. The stairs to the office loomed ahead, spiraling upward into darkness, a gaping mouth that threatened to swallow me whole. With each step I ascended, a voice seemed to echo in my head, softer than a whisper but heavy with warning, "Don't go up there." But I had to. I needed to know what was happening. The moment I reached the top, I was greeted not by darkness but by a flickering light that came from the office, a pale, unnatural glow that pulsed like a dying heartbeat. I peered through the half-open door, dread pooling in my stomach. Inside, papers lay scattered across the floor, and the odor of something rotten hung thick in the air. My eyes fell on a figure hunched in the far corner, a child, dressed in a striped shirt. My pulse raced. There he was. "Are you okay?" I asked, trying to mask my fear with concern. But the boy didn't move. Then, as I stepped closer, the air shifted. He turned to face me, his mouth opening wide, but there was no sound. Just an endless scream trapped in his throat, eyes pinched in silent agony. Panic seized me. I stumbled backward, but before I could react, the door slammed shut behind me. The light flickered violently, and I felt a cold breeze whip through the room. It's as if the air had become charged, alive with malevolence. Shadows snaked around me, stretching and pulling as darkness closed in that I was trapped. The boy's eyes bore into mine, filled with a pleading so deep I felt it echo in my soul. "Help," the word clawed at me. Then came a whisper, creeping into my ear like a phantom, "You shouldn't have come here." What had I awakened? Just as I began to grasp the swirling chaos, the ground beneath me shook as the deafening silence shattered into a cacophony of wailing. I had to break free before the darkness consumed us both. But what would I find if I opened that door again? As I stood in the heart of a nightmare, realization struck like lightning. Every step I'd taken had brought me closer to something sinister lurking beneath the surface. But was I ready to unearth the truth? Or would it choke me on the secrets that had been buried for so long? My options dwindling, I knew I had to decide immediately: fight back against the nightmare or surrender to its pull. The shadows were closing in, and the boy's silent scream echoed in my heart as I understood one chilling truth: this was only the beginning. The air thickened as the room around me warped into pulsating light. The boy's wide eyes seemed to absorb every shadow that lurked in the corners, pleading for rescue I wasn't sure I was capable of providing. The darkness felt like thick smoke, wrapping around my legs, tugging me back, drawing me into its suffocating embrace. "Get away from him!" I shouted, though my voice trembled like a fragile glass. I could barely discern the edges of the office now, silhouettes twisting in macabre shapes, and I knew I had to act fast. I had stumbled into a realm no one intended to enter. The child remained frozen, his mouth opening repeatedly, but the only sound was a haunting echo, a scream forever trapped inside his small body. Suddenly, an oppressive force surged, almost as if it were alive, pushing against me, clawing up my spine. I felt for the knob of the door behind me, my fingers icy with dread, but the entrance was barred as if a sinister hand held it shut. Desperation crashed over me as I glared at the boy. What happened here? I pressed, searching for an answer in his haunted gaze. But instead of insight, my heart dropped. A shadow slipped behind him and coiled, like a serpent weaving its way out of sight. Help, he gasped again, the word barely a whisper, and something primal flared within me. It was a plea wrapped not just in fear but in betrayal. The kind that drags you down deep, one that you could never escape from. Then I heard a distant thumping sound echoing through the floor, rhythmic and oppressive, like the drums of a far-off battle. The source was coming closer, and I could feel it urging me to run. But there was the boy, and I couldn't leave him behind. Just then, the light flickered again, casting eerie shadows that twisted and lunged as if they were alive. In the chaos, something else emerged. A figure stepped into the light. A man. No, more like a mockery of one. His face was obscured, but the glint of malice in his eyes was unmistakable. If you care for the boy, you have to make a choice. His voice echoed through the room, filling it with an icy chill. Leave, and he remains here, or stay and bear the weight of the truth. But know this, it will cost you far more than you're prepared to pay. Panic washed over me. What truth? I shouted, desperation mingling with fear. The question hung in the air, but the figure only smiled, turning the corners of his mouth up with a sickening joy, as if he reveled in my torment. Suddenly, the boy pointed toward a door I hadn't noticed before, half hidden behind stacks of old newspapers. You must find it. Please. His voice, though shaky, was urgent. I glanced back at the figure. A choice loomed before me, each option heavier than the last. Every instinct screamed against the darkness. But my heart was desperate to rescue the boy, and the flickering light led to a path unseen. With a newfound determination, I pushed past the shadows, racing toward that door. As I reached for it, the oppressive weight of the nightmare bore down with renewed fury, an otherworldly howl erupting around me, wrapping me in its claws as the boy screamed silently from behind. What lay beyond that door? Would it reveal salvation or doom? As the wood creaked ominously beneath my grip, I was left teetering on the brink of dread, my hand poised to uncover the horrors hidden in the depths of that darkened threshold. Could I face whatever awaited me beyond it? And if I did, would I be able to return, or was this the point of no return? The door seemed to breathe as I pushed it open, air spilling out like a whisper from the bowels of a creature long asleep. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing the distant thudding that was now a cacophony, drowning out my heartbeat. The flickering light from the office dimmed behind me, like a candle snuffed out, leaving me adrift in potential darkness that I stepped through, feeling a wave of cold rush over me. The new space was a hallway, a narrow, endless stretch lined with peeling wallpaper and dim lighting that buzzed like a swarm of angry bees. The rhythm of the thumping grew louder, vibrating through the air and sending chills racing down my spine. With every step I took, I struggled against an invisible force pressing down on me, trying to hold me back. It felt like the walls themselves were closing in, a tight grip of fear squeezing at my throat, my lungs burning. Find it, the boy's voice echoed in my mind, a fragile thread tethering me to hope. But what was I searching for? The answer danced somewhere just out of reach. I forced my feet to carry me forward. As I moved deeper into the hallway, a door materialized on my left, the handle a twisted iron serpent. Heart pounding, I hesitated. Another wave of the incessant thumping crashed against my eardrums, nearly drowning out the whispers that crept from the shadows. I yanked the door open without thinking, entering a room that looked like a crossover between a library and a mausoleum. Shelves, filled with dust-coated books and strange artifacts, loomed around the edges. The air was thick with secrets, ancient and dark. There, in the center of the room, sat a pedestal, casting eerie shadows in the low light. On it lay a small box, plain and unassuming, but the energy radiating off it felt electric. I moved closer, compelled, while a knot of unease tightened in my stomach. Just as I reached for it, a deafening crash echoed from behind me. I spun around, heart racing, breath caught in my throat. The grotesque figure loomed in the doorway, its malicious grin wider than before. The shadows danced with its movements, flickering like candlelight, and within its twisted form, I saw the boy's face, the innocence twisted into torment. "Do you think you can save him?" The figure rasped, its voice a sickening melody grasping for my sanity. "The truth will change everything, no." I screamed, stepping back, the weight of reality crashing down hard. Before I could process the threat, the ground beneath me trembled violently. The shelves rattled, and books fell like haphazard raindrops tumbling into a deep abyss. The shadows surged like tidal waves, enveloping the room in chaos, and the gasping boy's voice echoed through the mayhem. Desperate to escape, I lunged for the small box, ripping it off the pedestal. The moment I touched it, a surge of energy pulsed through me, a bolt of raw truth that felt like fire and ice all at once. Visions flashed behind my eyes, the boy, the figure, dark secrets clawing at the edges of my mind. And then silence. The cacophony quieted. I stood in a void, clutching the box like a lifeline, breathless and trembling. But the figure remained there, its eyes glinting with a malevolent promise. "You have it now, but at what cost?" The air thickened again, a pressure building, and a question loomed larger than the shadows surrounding me. What had I unleashed? And was I still capable of saving the boy, or had I unleashed a greater evil upon us both? The silence was suffocating, stretching endlessly around me. I stood there, heart pounding like a war drum as the box hummed softly in my hands. It felt alive, vibrating with a force that clawed at the edges of my awareness, a beckoning, a warning. But the figure in the doorway was relentless. Its laugh echoed in the quiet, a sound like glass shattering in the night. "That box holds more than you know. Open it, and the truth will pour out." My instincts screamed for me to run. With every ounce of willpower, I turned and dashed toward the door, but when I reached the threshold, I slammed into something cold and solid. It was as if the shadows had solidified, blocking my escape. I stumbled back, disoriented, clutching the box tight against my chest. The figure advanced, its grin widening into something grotesque. Each step it took sent ripples of darkness spilling across the floor. "You think you can hide? The boy needs you. Or perhaps he needs a different fate." I glanced down at the box, its surface smooth and unyielding. What was inside? Who would it hurt if I opened it? My thoughts raced. The boy needed me, but so did I. A desperate choice loomed before me: save myself or take the leap for him. "Choose." The figure taunted, its voice now a venomous hiss. The decision tightened my chest, a vice of confusion and dread. I turned between the door, the box, and the figure, each option a promise of either salvation or doom. Just then, a soft whisper flickered to life in my mind, the boy's voice, aching and clear. "Please don't leave me." In that moment, something shifted within me. The fear that had paralyzed me began to morph into something else: determination. If this was my last chance, I had to know the truth, no matter the cost. I raised the box and, with trembling hands, unlatched the clasp. A rush of energy surged forth, enveloping the room. The air crackled with electricity, alive with emotion, as the shadows recoiled. The figure howled in rage, its form blistering and twisting grotesquely within the pulse of light that erupted from the box. Wisps of darkness turned to smoke, dissipating like nightmares at dawn. Inside the box lay a small mirror, its surface shimmering with images that swirled around like the memories of shattered dreams. I looked at it, and visions flashed before my eyes: horrors from the past, scenes of anguish that bound the boy to the figure. I could see the truth now: the boy wasn't seeking rescue. He had been part of something far grimmer, trapped in a cycle of pain. The truth tore at me. "What does this mean?" I gasped, clutching the mirror like a warning. "It means," the figure rasped, voice dripping with venom, "that freeing him will bind you to his fate forever. Love and sacrifice demand a price." The air grew heavy again, the pressure mounting, and I felt the walls of the room shift once more. The shadows weren't just retreating, they were regrouping, coiling back as if to strike. Fear clawed at my throat, tightening around me, but I didn't know if I had the strength to break free. Now, the question hammered in my mind, could I save him, or had I just condemned us both into a darkness deeper than anything I could imagine? And as I stared into the mirror, a chilling realization hit me, the final choice stood before me, and the truth was only the beginning. The light from the mirror flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. Each image that flashed before my eyes pulled me deeper into a darkness I didn't know existed. My heart raced as I witnessed cries for help. The boy, the figure, tangled in a web of pain, trapped in realms unknown. "Look closer," the figure hissed, its voice now like ice scraping against glass. "What do you see?" The visions merged, morphing into something tangible, something I couldn't ignore. I caught glimpses of the boy's laughter, innocent and bright, intertwined with the sinister presence lurking in his past. I could almost feel his hope waning, replaced by despair. Each haunting image tightened the coil of dread around my chest, constricting my breath. "What have you done?" I choked out, my voice barely a whisper. "Nothing but offer him the only truth he deserves," the figure chuckled, a twisted glee illuminating its gaunt face. "He is mine, forged through suffering." A surge of anger bubbled within me. I couldn't let this entity take another soul. The thought of the boy's tears shattered what little resolve remained. I had to fight. I grasped the mirror tighter, jolted by a sudden surge of warmth. "No!" I screamed, defiance roiling through each word. "I will not let you have him." The figure recoiled as though slapped, the jagged edges of its form flickering with uncertainty. The shadows around it writhed in agitation, as if my defiance had disrupted a dark spell. My heart thundered, pumping adrenaline into my veins. It felt as if the very air had shifted, each breath mingled with burgeoning hope. "Remember," the figure spat, its tone low and threatening, "once you choose, there's no turning back. You'll be shackled to his agony and eternity spent in his shadows." The warning pooled in the pit of my stomach, but I couldn't let fear deter me. The boy needed me. I needed to act. With a steadying breath, I leaned closer to the mirror and summoned the flickering light. "I choose to save him." As the words rang through the air, the mirror exploded with a blinding glow. The room shuddered around me, the shadows screeching in a cacophony of rage. I shielded my eyes, feeling the walls pulse and tremble. Suddenly, it happened. I felt a violent tug at the core of my being, like a thread being pulled taut. With a primal scream, I was yanked into the mirror's radiant light. The world warped around me. I floated, suspended between darkness and a new reality, my mind racing to grasp what was happening. "Welcome to your truth," came the voice, now echoing from every direction. "You'll pay the price and you will be his keeper." My heart sank as the shadows began to converge again, coiling around me like a tightening noose. The warmth I once felt dissipated, replaced by a freezing chill that crept into my bones, intertwining with a growing sense of dread. As the tumult of images flooded my mind, I felt the connection to the boy fragile and deeply rooted draw me into despair's embrace. My choice resonated within me, powerful and terrifying. What awaited me on the other side? The reflection trembled with unease, and questions began to swirl. Had I truly saved him, or had I doomed us both to face an even greater horror together? The silence fell heavy again, with only the figure's laughter echoing in the dark. The mirror pulsed with ominous energy, whispering secrets I wasn't ready to uncover. As I fought against the shadows clawing at my heart, I realized the real battle was yet to come, and with that thought, a chilling whisper echoed through the void. "What will you sacrifice now to keep him from being lost in the dark forever?" I was floating in an abyss, suspended in a void where time seemed meaningless. The air was thick with despair, and my heart raced as the shadows twisted and churned around me, threatening to consume every shred of hope I had left. Then, with a jarring snap, I was dropped headfirst into a new reality, no longer isolated in the mirror's light but surrounded by an otherworldly landscape that felt both familiar and bizarrely alien. The ground was a swirling mass of darkness, each step reverberating with a deep, resonant hum that echoed in my bones. I could hear the boy's laughter call out, a haunting melody woven into the air, interspersed with faint cries that sliced through the dark like knives. Panic surged within me. "Where are you?" I shouted, my voice barely rising above the din of the shadows, but it was swallowed by the oppressive silence that loomed around me. With each step, images flickered in the air, a kaleidoscope of dreams and nightmares. I saw the boy, his face alight with joy in one moment, only to flash into despair in the next. Shadows curled around him, like tendrils of smoke snuffing out his light, and I felt a visceral tug at my heart. "Help me," his voice echoed, terrified and distant. I gritted my teeth and charged into the darkness, desperation fueling my pace. The landscape morphed, shifting from blighted ruins to a serene park, sunlight glimmering off the leaves, then spiraling back into the desolation of shadowy alleyways. Each change felt like a cruel trick, teasing my senses and slipping from my grasp like sand through fingers. "Stay close," I called, knowing I was fighting against something bigger than myself. I could feel the entity lurking, feeding off my fear, waiting for me to falter. Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and the shadows danced violently. A figure emerged, the same gaunt presence I had confronted in the mirror. Its face twisted into a grin that sent chills down my spine. "You shouldn't have chosen, little keeper," it taunted, each syllable dripping with malice. "I'm not afraid of you," I barked back, trying to summon the courage that felt so thin. "Oh, but you will be. You will be," it whispered, as the landscape plunged deeper into chaos around us. In that moment, I realized the truth. The boy was not simply lost, he was part of this darkness, bound to it in ways I could not yet comprehend. I could feel our connection, a lifeline stretching across the void, flickering with a fragile glow. Suddenly, there was the boy, small and trembling, his eyes pleading. "Please don't leave me," he whimpered. My heart shattered at his vulnerability. I rushed forward, determined to break the binding chains this malevolent force had wrapped around him. Reaching out, a wave of warmth surged through me, igniting some small flicker of light deep within the shadows. "I won't let you be taken. We'll fight together." The figure howled in rage, and the world around us began to twist and fracture. As I grasped the boy's hand, I felt the weight of the darkness pressing down, threatening to tear us apart. The laughter of the malevolent entity echoed, but it was growing fainter, its power weakening against my resolve. Yet, just as the shadows began to recede, a sudden jolt of terror gripped me. I realized what I must sacrifice to sever the bonds that held him. Would I dare? What would it cost me? As I hesitated, balancing the scales of hope and horror, the figure's laughter rose to a new crescendo, and its eyes blazed with dark anticipation. The shadows swirled, threatening to engulf both of us, leaving only despair in their wake. "What will you give for his freedom?" it sneered. I took a deep breath, the air heavy with foreboding. I had to make my choice now, or we would be lost to the darkness forever. What would I risk to save him? And what if, in saving him, I lost myself instead? The choice loomed heavy, pressing against my chest like a boulder. The shadows writhed ominously, and the boy's fingers trembled in my grip. I could feel the rhythmic pulse of fear thrumming through the air, feeding the darkness around us. "I'll do anything," I said, my voice breaking. "Just tell me how." The figure's eyes glimmered with a predatory hunger, its grin stretching impossibly wide. "Everything has a price, little keeper," it hissed, as if savoring the moment. "What's yours?" I could only think of the boy. Would sacrificing a piece of myself, my light, my memories, bring him back? An unsettling chill slithered up my spine. I had faced fears before, but this was a new terror. What if, in giving up my essence, I became the shadow? No, no. The boy's plea sliced through my thoughts. "Don't trade yourself. Please." His small face twisted in anguish, and I could feel his anxiety reverberating along the fragile tether that bound us. But what choice did I have? To abandon him would be to abandon my own heart. The figure stepped closer, its dark aura enveloping us, and I could almost taste the despair thickening in the air. "Are you going to make your sacrifice or not?" it taunted, voice echoing like thunder. Shadows coiled around the boy, tugging at his life force, and my resolve began to falter. Stop! Let him go! I screamed, and in that moment, I understood. I had to give something, but it didn't have to be everything. I could fight back with the one thing that fueled the darkness, my own fear. With each breath, I steeled myself. A plan began to form. Take my memories. Take the pain if it means he is free. The words tumbled out, desperate but determined. The figure's smile faltered, confusion flickering across its grotesque features. Memories? Interesting. It paused, clearly intrigued by the prospect. But they are so deeply rooted. Do you truly believe they hold the power to stand against me? Yes. I'd give up every scrap of my past for him. I declared, desperation fueling my conviction. The shadows recoiled slightly, revealing the boy, his eyes wide with fright. No. He shouted again, but I felt the light inside me flicker, a beacon in the consuming darkness. Just hold on. I urged, squeezing his hand tighter, channeling all the warmth I could muster. This will hurt, but we can do this together. The figure lunged toward me, shadows swirling violently. Very well. Let us see what the keeper is made of. Pain shot through me as if 1,000 knives stabbed at my memories, each one a cherished moment slipping away like sand. I felt the world fracture around me, whispers of laughter and love fading into the abyss. The boy cried out. No. His voice was raw, breaking through the chaos. I need you. I steadied myself against the whirlwind of despair and bathed him in my remaining light. I'm right here. As another memory dissolved into darkness, a flicker of hope ignited. The shadows began to waver, unraveling like threads from a fraying tapestry. But deep inside me, fear began to twist into something else, something powerful, a raw energy building against this malevolent force. Your choice will cost you dearly. The figure shrieked, its voice full of venom. Good. I blasted back, feeling the surge of strength pushing against despair. I'll pay whatever it takes to bring him back. That's when I saw it, the boy's face, flickering with uncertainty, but hope sprouting like a fragile shoot. But as I pushed through the pain, I couldn't shake the chill warning that this wasn't the end. Would I lose everything to save him, or could we find a way to chain this darkness? The shadows writhed violently, retreating ever so slightly, but the figure wasn't done. You think you can challenge me without consequence? You have no idea what lies beneath. As it spoke, the ground trembled, and I felt something lurking in the depths of the darkness rise. I grasped the boy's hand tighter, but it was becoming clearer. My sacrifice would create more than just light. What else would awaken within the void? What secrets would the darkness reveal as I tried to save my heart and the life of the child I fought for? The shadows around us pulsed, thickening once more, their frantic energy shifting like a restless tide. The pain I felt was a visceral ache, and with every flicker of a vanishing memory, I sensed something dark slithering closer, as if drawn to the raw essence I bled out. Don't stop. The boy cried, desperation lacing his voice. You're doing it. I can feel it. His small fingers intertwined with mine, gripping tighter, making the world outside our struggle fade into the background. The figure's laughter echoed, a sinister sound that rattled my bones. Ah, sweet keeper, how precious your sacrifice is. But you're mistaken if you believe this simple trade will stop me. You think you know fear? It stepped forward, a tangle of shadows like a living cloak behind it. You've barely scratched the surface. A shiver of dread crawled down my spine. What do you mean? The figure tilted its head, an unfathomable depth in its eyes. You've not yet embraced the true terror lurking within the darkness, the fear that resides in your very soul, far deeper than any memory. My heart raced. Was that true? Was there an even darker thread within me woven into the fabric of my existence? Your boy, it whispered, its voice turning honeyed. Do you really think he will remain unscathed? The shadows don't simply take, they transform, they corrupt. The boy's eyes widened. No. He shouted defiantly. You don't get to take him. You can't have him. But I could see his resolve fraying, just as my memories were, and I felt the darkness pricking at our bond. No. I yelled, squeezing his hand with all I had left. We won't let it take you. As I shouted, I felt an odd shift within me, a flash of understanding igniting through the haze of panic. Yes, my memories were vanishing, but perhaps there was something else I could wield. If you want more fear, then come and take it. I won't let him go. The figure recoiled slightly, surprise flickered in its eyes. Bold but foolish. Do you really think you can feed the shadows more than they already crave? Maybe I can. I shouted, my voice emerging more potent than I felt. Each flicker of fear that rose within me, my insecurities, my failures, the moments that left me hollow, I lined them up as if they were arrows ready to be unleashed. I could control this. I could turn what bound me into a weapon. I will not die in fear, I declared, pushing the darkness back, feeling the remnants of my essence tie into fierce resistance. You may take my memories, but I won't let you take the light from my boy. Suddenly, the ground beneath us heaved violently, uprooting fragments of soil and stone. The shadows began to hiss, losing their foothold as my determination ignited like fire. Feel the fear? Good. Let us see how you deal with the light that's breaking through. Amongst the swirling chaos, something flickered from the depths. The shadows began to retreat, creeping back with uncertainty. I could sense it, the very essence of their power struggling against the purity of love that coursed through me. I can resist you. I breathed, my heart pounding like a war drum. My focus was narrowed on the boy, our connection shimmering. Whatever darkness lurks beneath, I choose to fight. He chooses to fight. The figure's face twisted in rage, shadows clawing desperately against an onslaught of warmth. This isn't finished. You may have won a moment, little keeper, but the darkness never forgets. As the last remnants of my memories slipped away, I felt something burst forth from the depths below. A shadowy creature, even larger and more terrifying than before, clambered into the half-light, bearing its fangs. What the hell is that? My heart stuttered in my chest, panic reeling through me. Fear dripped like sweat, thick and palpable. The boy trembled beside me, eyes wide and filled with terror, but as I took a breath, knitting the resolve to protect him stronger than ever, I knew this was the moment we must confront. This new foe was more than just a reminder of what I'd lost, it was the path to our salvation, or our doom. In the depths of darkness, what lay ahead was more daunting than anything I'd faced before. Would I be able to hold on to my essence, or would I slip into the void entirely? As shadows began to close in around us once more, the answer loomed just within reach, but the truth was hidden in the chilling echoes of the unknown. A tense silence draped over us as the monstrous shadow loomed closer, its jagged form pulsating within the darkness. Fear tumbled through my chest, but I refused to let it coil around me. The boy's trembling hand gripped mine tightly, a flicker of connection igniting my resolve. In that moment, I realized something profound. This creature was not just a monster, it was a manifestation of everything we feared and had fought so hard to overcome. Stay close. I commanded, forcing my voice to steady. We can't let it take us. My heart pounded like a war drum, my breath coming in rapid bursts, but there was a spark of light between us, love, courage, and a bond that could withstand the darkest storm. As the shadow drew nearer, I felt its presence trying to seep into my mind, dipping fingers of cold dread into my memories. I fought back, remembering the warmth of laughter and the safety of a hug. I gathered each fragment of light in my mind, the boy's bright smile, the sound of his laughter echoing in an empty park, the joys of childhood lost in shadows. Suddenly, I let loose those precious moments like arrows fired into the darkness. Face it. I shouted, my voice piercing through the oppressive atmosphere. You won't drown us in fear. The shadow shrieked, its form wavering, caught between the darkness it thrived in and the light I clung to. With each powerful memory unleashed, the grip of the shadows began to weaken. The boy's eyes shone brighter, reflecting the flicker of hope that surged between us. Together, I urged, and as we stood firm against the nightmarish creature, I sensed our bond like a living thread weaving around us, strong and unwavering. The shadow twisted, spewing tendrils of darkness. It lunged at us, but I held my ground. We won't be your victims. You are nothing. I yelled, anger fueling my voice like gasoline on flames. The boy stood at my side, fear replaced by a newfound determination. In response, the creature howled, unraveling, its form tearing apart. Beneath its grotesque surface, I could see a flicker of humanity, the child it once was. With every breath, I forged my emotions together, fear, pain, and hope, coalescing into a brilliant light. I see you. I shouted, not just to the shadow but to the boy trapped within it. We will set you free. As if my words breathed life into the bond we shared, the boy stepped forward courageously. I believe, he exclaimed, his tiny voice ringing with conviction. The light burst around him, illuminating the dark corner of my heart, banishing the shadows that sought to consume. Together, we drew from our shared light, a warmth radiating like a crescendo of joy, forcefully pushing against the sinister visage surrounding us. The creature shrieked louder, a cacophony of anguish reeling from our joined spirit. It engulfed the space, twisting as if trying to evade the light, while I felt the shadows within me begin to fracture, splintering under the relentless brightness. Now, I urged, my heart racing with urgency. Together. And we dove into a whirlwind of light, faces beaming, our energy intertwining with faith and love. The monster within the darkness writhed as we unleashed the brightness of our spirits. The explosion shook the ground beneath us, shadows snapping like brittle cords, dissipating into light as laughter filled the air around us. I squeezed my eyes shut against the brilliance, feeling weight melt from my shoulders as the darkness unraveled, revealing beams of pure light streaming through. When the light diminished, I felt myself standing in a familiar place, the gas station lobby, warm and inviting under the hum of fluorescent lights. The boy stood beside me, unscathed, his striped shirt vibrant against the bright background. Is it over? He asked, eyes wide with wonder. I knelt down, cupping his face gently. Yes, it is. You're safe now. Tears blurred my vision as I embraced him, an overwhelming wave of relief flooding over me. The shadows that haunted us were gone, obliterated by the brilliance we carried deep within our hearts. Will I remember? He asked softly, a hint of worry flickering in his gaze. No. I smiled, warmth spreading through me. But you'll carry the strength of this moment, the courage we fought together. As we released each other, I glanced around the gas station, the memories of fear and darkness dissipating into the background, a faint whisper of a nightmare. The air hummed with serenity, and I took a deep breath, skin prickling with joy. The clock chimed in the distance. Midnight had passed, and dawn was on the horizon. We did it, I whispered, feeling an aura of peace wash over me. Yeah, he smiled back. We did. Hand in hand, we stepped outside together, the first rays of sunlight glinting on the world before us, unburdened by shadows. As we walked toward the rising sun, I felt a warmth in my heart. This was indeed a new beginning. As we moved into the clearing light, I understood life would always hold uncertainty, but the bonds we forged through love and bravery would guide our way. No darkness could ever drag us down again, and that was a truth I'd carry forward. So, before you go lost in your own shadows, don't let this moment pass. You need to subscribe now. This is your chance to ensure you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now if you felt the thrill of our journey. And flood the comments section with your reactions, your thoughts, your theories about the ending. Did you see it coming? What do you think happened to the shadows? We want your voice to resonate with us. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our channel. Let us keep this community thriving together.